Baseball fans may have felt cheated if they happened to catch a glimpse of the 1969 Topps football cards that fall. After all, while Topps gave diamond collectors a classic issue with clear big photos, those cards might strike some as, well, boring. Boring wasn't a problem at all for 1969 football, though, as the cards featured all sorts of funky player poses silhouetted over top of solid colored backgrounds that ran across the full spectrum. Add in jazzy team logos and popping red and black font against a white cardboard bottom, and you have one striking gridiron issue, and one that's full of goodies that the hobby loves even today, like these 12 most valuable 1969 Topps football cards, with price ranges culled from PSA Sports Market Report price guide. Let's jump in. Piccolo made the Bears as an undrafted free agent in 1965 and spent the next few seasons working his way into the starting lineup. Finally, in 1969, Piccolo was installed as the starting fullback to complement future Hall of Famer Gale Sayers at tailback. After 9 games, Piccolo pulled himself from the starting lineup because he was having difficulty breathing. Subsequent medical tests showed that he had an aggressive form of testicular cancer. By June of 1970, and after multiple surgeries and hospitalizations, Piccolo's cancer had spread to multiple organs, and he passed away on June 16th. In the years since, Sayers has talked in depth multiple times about his friend's courage and demise, and the movie Brian's Song tells Piccolo's story. Today, Piccolo remains a beloved figure in the sport and in the hobby, and his rookie card sells for around $90 in PSA 7 condition. As Super Bowl III approached, Joe Namath guaranteed that the AFL's New York Jets would defeat the mighty Baltimore Colts of the mighty NFL for the championship. Everyone laughed at Broadway Joe for his bluster, as the Colts were favored by 18, and most observers thought that spread was being generous to the Jets. Namath delivered, though, winning the Super Bowl MVP award for leading New York to a stunning 16-7 victory over Johnny Unitas and his Baltimore squad. From that day forward, Namath was a football celebrity, and his 1969 card, issued just months after his braggadocio, remains a hobby favorite at $65 in PSA 7. When the Miami Dolphins made Larry Csonka their first-round pick in the 1968 NFL Draft, General Manager Joe Robbie hoped he'd found his man who could someday anchor a championship backfield. 4 years later, Csonka helped make Robbie's dream a reality when he ran for 1,117 yards and scored 6 touchdowns to help the Fins notch the only perfect, wire-to-wire undefeated season in NFL history. When all was said and done, Csonka had notched over 8,000 yards on the ground, along with 800-plus receiving yards and 68 touchdowns. It was all good enough for a bust in Canton and a $65 rookie card in PSA 7. Unitas appeared in just 5 games in 1968 at the age of 35, and you could have been forgiven for thinking the Baltimore great was just about done. But he came back to take most of the snaps in Super Bowl III, then returned for 5 more seasons, playing 1969 and 1970 as starter. That last year, he helped the Colts back to the big game, where they downed the Dallas Cowboys 16-13, with Earl Morrall getting the lion's share of the work for Baltimore in the pocket. By then, though, Unitas' legacy was secure, and he was headed for the Hall of Fame. Today, his 1969 Topps card is a $45 buy in PSA 7 condition. Sayers himself was on the comeback trail when this card was issued in 1969, having appeared in just 9 games the year before. The new season brought a last great gasp to Sayers' short career, though, and he led the NFL with 236 carries and 1,032 yards, good for 8 touchdowns. Alas, all the wear and tear from that monster season was too much for Gale's fragile physique, and he made it into just 4 more games combined in 1970 and 1971 before hanging up his cleats. No matter, though, because he was a Chicago superstar and skittered right into the Hall of Fame in 1977. Today, this Topps card from Sayers' shining moment of a season sells for around $45 in PSA 7. On the other side of the ball for the Bears, Butkus was in the middle of a 9-year career as one of the greatest middle linebackers the game had ever seen. You have to wonder, don't you, how the Bears could have finished an atrocious 1-13 with a Canton-bound guys at a couple of the key spots on the field? Oh well, this Butkus issue is a $45 card in graded near mint condition. As 1969 dawned, Starr was a full season removed from his last Super Bowl appearance, and a 6-7-1 record for the Packers in 1968 spelled trouble for the storied franchise. Starr bounced in and out of the starter's role for the next 3 seasons before retiring after a 4-appearance 1971 campaign. Even in the middle of rough times, though, Starr looked like a classic quarterback in his 1969 Topps card, which pushes $40 these days. Who knew in 1969 that Tarkenton would go on to lead the Minnesota Vikings to 3 Super Bowl appearances, all losses in the 1970s, or that he would become a television personality? In the moment, Tarkenton was the quarterback for the blah New York Giants team and was going nowhere fast. Tarkenton's later achievements, though, boost this 1969 card to the $25 range in PSA 7. The Dolphins drafted Griese with the 4th pick in the 1967 NFL Draft, and he was starting at quarterback by the end of the first season. And though 1968 and 69 were rough seasons for the youngster and his team, better days were ahead. It's true that Griese missed most of the Finns' perfect 1972 due to injury, but he bounced right back to lead them to another Super Bowl title in 1973. A Miami legend, Griese checks in here at $25 in PSA 7 condition. Do you remember who the quarterback was for the Dallas Cowboys before Roger Staubach? Well, yeah, Craig Morton briefly. But before that, it was Dandy Don Meredith, who landed 3 Pro Bowl appearances while the boys were trying to become the boys. For that distinction, Meredith lines up here at about $20. Do you remember who replaced Jim Brown at running back for the Cleveland Browns? Trick question, right? Because nobody replaces Jim Brown at anything. But Leroy Kelly gave it an admirable go, rushing for 1,141 yards in 1966, then leading the NFL in both carries and yards in both 1967 and 1968. Kelly finished his career with 7,200 plus yards on the ground, nearly 2,300 receiving, and 87 total touchdowns. And he's a Hall of Famer. And this is a #1 card. It all adds up to a $20 price tag for copies in PSA 7 condition. Like Starr, Nitschke was winding down his Hall of Fame career with the Packers when this card came out. And like Starr, the All-Pro middle linebacker is a Green Bay legend. Expect to pay close to $20 for a 1969 Topps Nitschke in slab near mint condition. If you like this video, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel.